Welcome back to the Fusca Auto Automation campaign. In the last episode, I've left off right after the Yokato, the smallest and cheapest car in our lineup, got facelifted, and I think I'm going to facelift it once again. But before I can do that, I'll need to tweak the engine for emissions because I've looked and it seems like we need a slight adjustment. I can just leave it like this and tune it once I put it in the car, but I won't just slightly update the engine. I think it is time to make a turbo variant because this is a tiny engine and only has 38 horsepower, and the car, the Yokato and the premium version, the Dolce Vita CE, is barely usable. It's painfully slow with 38 horsepower, so I think I'm going to add a turbo, but for the higher end versions, since it does cost quite a bit. And the first step I should do is put on a mid header, maybe slightly open it up so I can push more power. And now I have to go to tuning. I go to the turbo grid, never mind 4 graphs. Oh, I don't think it's the right one. Yes, turbo grid works. And I'll slightly reduce the boost. And if you're not really making any power, what you should do is make the turbine smaller because the engine can't spin it up. I'll need to make it a bit bigger. Right, I'll need to be a bit less efficient by reducing compression, since very high compression and having a turbo doesn't play well. It's giving me a yellow warning, but I wouldn't really push this engine too much. Plus, I want to have some early boost. There we go, 60 horsepower is enough. The spool is acceptable, I'd say, for an early turbo like this. Maybe I could go for boost control, but yes, all reliability is gone. Oh yes, because it puts us in this red zone. So I'll have to stick to wastegate. At least I have some familiarity because I already prototyped it. It could push more power, but I want to keep some efficiency. Maybe if I make it a bit richer. I think I'll slightly sacrifice having an early spool for some reliability points. I'll also go ahead and make it a bit leaner. 61 horsepower should be enough. Now for engineering, 60 months, I'd ideally like to have it at about 50, so I could spend more on it. Yeah, what I should do is optimize the emissions to be at least 8, so I can set it in the near future. And if I go here to fixtures, I'll do the facelift. I already have it done, so I can first copy the morphs from a text file somewhere else. Press settings, go to MISC, and here you can copy and paste fixtures and morphs. So I paste morphs and then paste the fixtures. Yes, there we go. I've borrowed some of the styling from the newer models with the front. The back is still the same, but the front is a bit more sloped and has flush headlights. In terms of safety, I'll have to go for 80s, or at least standard safeties, 70s. Looks like standard 80s it is. And in the interior here, I think it's going to cost too much to put a cassette player in. And now for the Dolce Vita version, I will put in the turbo engine. Should be a very interesting car with the CVT transmission and the turbo on top. And one trick you can do if you have a continuous gearbox is just increase the maximum speed, because it technically has infinite gears, so you don't sacrifice acceleration that much. I think having ABS would be nice for this more premium car. And as for the interior, maybe I could go for a cassette player. Since I've got the turbo engine, I'm going to create a nice sporty dream of the Ryokato. So it's two flavors of the same thing, one comfortable and one sporty. I've done a few design tweaks which help separate the Super Turbo from the normal Ryokato, and they are having this texture which looks super cool for the time, colored trim, a badge, a spoiler to help with stability at high speed, bigger brakes, and stiffer sway bars for a sportier ride. And it seems like engineering is going to take a very short time, so I may as well turn up the reliability. I think I'm just going to leave it at 50 months, then the returns start to diminish as I pump more money into it. I know I've said in the last episode that I don't want to make any new engines soon, but it looks like I have to, since both our inline 3, inline 4 and even V6 are starting to get underpowered and maybe not pass emissions. The first engine I'll make is a replacement for both the tiny 3-cylinder in the Ryokato and the 1.5 liter 4-cylinder that's found in the base model Koala. Keep the theme and go with an aluminium block. This time maybe an aluminium silicon block. Both so it's lightweight and efficient. Power doesn't matter as much. Dual overhead cam, but only 2 valves to make it a bit cheaper. Yeah, since this engine is tiny, it can rev a lot. And I forgot that we may need to use some other kinds of pistons. I think hybrid protectic Castworks, yeah, it has some more power density, a bit better efficiency, and I may as well throw on variable valve timing so I get familiarity. Now I'll be making a replacement for the big inline 4, which goes up to 1.8 liters, the old one does. This time I'll make it out of iron so it can hold more power, and also go for twin cam 4 valve. Still making it a bit under square to have some torque. This isn't really a sporty engine, although it could be with some tuning, but it's going to be used in many things. And it looks like I'm going to have to use forged parts since cast parts don't hold up. And it looks like it could also replace the smallest V6, the 2.4 liter. Now that I think about it, I could also put on a turbocharger on this prototype so I get even more familiarity. I've engineered the turbo and it looks like I can make way over 200 horsepower if I wanted to. Only problem is some bottom end durability. Maybe I could solve that if I wanted to go turbo. Now I think there's only one more engine left, a replacement for the V6. I'm also going with aluminium since this isn't really going to be an utility engine, more of a normal and sporty engine. And I may want to go a bit over square. Going yet again with twin cam 4 valve since this is a premium engine. That might be worth investing in twin throttles because I'm surely going to use them in the future. I've now got the engine lineup ready. I don't think I'm going to take a loan, and this should hopefully be ready when our new mainline cars release to then be put in the facelift of whatever comes. Now I'll just see how well these cars sell the whole refresh lineup from the last episode. And the whole brand new lineup has arrived. Oh, great, quotation the first month. I'm going to have to do a full recall. The medium-sized cars, the LP and the Redena aren't selling that well, so I'm really going to have to beef them up for the facelift. As for the SP, oh yeah, I think it's selling quite well, 1,000 in the first month, but that may be due to pre-orders building up. The Lucciola, it's also doing pretty well, and the pickup I think stronger than ever. The Koala, I'll really have to do something about the low sales, probably a whole new car in the next episode. And the Ricato is just doing its thing. I'll go one more month and see how it pans out. Yep, the ML platform has already finished all the pre-orders. Oh yes, oh no, the Koala has already run through about half of its pre-orders. So for the next episode I'll really have to beef up the ML and for the Koala make a whole new car that beats the Ryukato, because I think the Ryukato is really stealing sales. It's such a bargain compared to the Koala. Maybe that's why it's not selling so well, because before the Ryokato it was pretty much our best seller. I'll now take the Ryokato Super Turbo on a test drive around the mountain roads, because I think this is where a car with not that much power will shine. I'll try to do some spirited driving because it's supposed to be a sporty car with 60 horsepower, yeah. Since it's light, it doesn't really refuse to turn, you just have to watch out for wheel spin. Yeah, the tires don't like it when you go full throttle out of the turn. And in turns it's pretty good. The turning radius is Very nice, probably because of it being short. And it doesn't feel like a boat since it's so light. Oh, yeah, although tires could be better. This was on a budget. I feel if it had just a bit more power, maybe 80, 100 horsepower, it would have been quite perfect. Overall, the balance is pretty neutral, maybe very slightly oversteery. I think the spoiler helps somewhat when going fast. Now let's take this narrow road, see how precise it is. I definitely handled it pretty well. Didn't skip a bit this whole drive. And I think this is a very nice and scenic place to end the episode. I'll see you later when we redesign the Koala, our medium family car, which lately hasn't been selling so well.